pointing the finger, but, it's, us managers, right? That remember, and owning that is a little bit of an act of courage. We can't be perfect. We don't come to work every day trying to make people's lives at work miserable. But, that's why I'm in the business of, we're trying to save the work world one leader manager at a time. And that's what LEAP is all about, is really giving these tools and practices and the best habits of leading effectively to managers in the organization. What happens but the natural result that happens when people start to not perform well is we go into hyper micromanaging mode. And micromanagement actually signals low expectations, which in and of itself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have to break out of that cycle and step back and focus on outcomes, or if you prefer the term, results, and not the process. So if I were to say, we need to get from here, Seattle area, to Florida, and specifically Orlando, Florida, by next week, exactly 1 week from today. I don't care how you get us there, but we need to get there, and we need to be there by exact, this time or earlier. That's a clear outcome, a clear expectation. Now, have I given clear resources or tools? No, I haven't given a budget, right? Oh, by the way, you need to do this for under $1,000, and you need to get our entire team there of 4 people. Okay, well, it's a challenge, but I'm not dictating the process, right? I'm giving, okay, and they can come back and say, you know what, for $1,000, Manager Linda, you are cray-cray. Like, that ain't happening, or, well, I can get us there in a bus that I rent, but it won't be a luxury bus, and that's not going to be any fun for anybody. Are you sure that's what we want to do? Right? So focus on outcomes, focus on results, and providing those resources, tools, and information. This is just a little bit of a segue, but just kind of a reminder. And the reason I included this is, again, not to be preachy, but I think what I'm seeing in the workplace is our managers are really burdened with being working managers. And I hear that term a lot. I see a lot of organizations kind of put that title or put that on managers with a lot of pride. And I actually think it's not a good thing. Being a working manager, often what happens is, and the conversation we have a lot is, well, I have all this whole bunch of work to do because I'm an expert in whatever, right? Whether it's IT or assembly work or sales or finance, right? I'm the CFO, but I'm also closing the books every month. So, and what happens is the focus becomes on the work, the technical work itself, and the people part of their job becomes secondary. And we need to flip that. We need to turn that on its head and go, you know what, your primary job is, and I think of it as like the conductor of the orchestra. Your primary job is not to play the musical instrument. You might be able to play 5 instruments really, really well. But at the end of the day, you are now the conductor of the orchestra. You need to make sure that every seat is filled and that your team is making beautiful music. So our job is to establish the what's in the house, to communicate those goals and expectations clearly and help employees develop their job goals in partnership with us. So it's not a one-way conversation. It's a plan and that we've agreed to, and that frankly, hopefully they're excited about. And then we give ongoing, honest feedback. What are you doing well? Let's catch them doing things right, and give them corrective sort of, hey, you know, early corrective feedback, not critical feedback, but hey, you know, it was a little off the mark here, or you might have misunderstood what we were trying to achieve, but you know, how do you think it went?
I think that's a great example of setting expectations, right? When we say we want you to be a manager, but we want you to do the work, we're not focused on the outcomes in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We're focused on what it is we want them to do. And
Yep.
so if we step back and we look at outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
do you want a well-functioning team? Do you want the work to get done? What's the outcome here? And maybe the answer is both,
Right.
but then who's responsible for each?
Right.
Or should be responsible. So I think that's a great example of outcomes versus giving them the duties and responsibilities.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kim. Yeah, at all levels, right? The stuff around outcomes and clarity of expectations is important. And when managers start thinking about their work a little differently, it changes their conversation with their direct manager, right? Like, okay, direct manager, you know what? You promoted me, but we never hired to fill in for me. So my seat in the orchestra is not filled, and I can't do both.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So I don't know, raise your hands, either in the chat or kind of emoji, right?